Thank you, Marita. It's a pleasure to be with you. As Marita said, I am the International Curriculum Director with Learning A to Z. And today we will cater our presentation or our chat today to the old users and to the new. And I think there's a lot of new items to share with you, so it can easily cater to everyone. Um, it is RAS Plus Plus for that reason. We have a lot of new things that are happening with RAS Plus and Learning A to Z, and it's really, really exciting. Today, as we go through, as you have some questions, put those in the chat. And as Marita said, she will monitor that for me and let me know if there's something that I need to address. She'll be addressing many questions as well as she answers those chat items. Um, so, welcome. As we get going, here's what we'll be doing today. And I think that was in your emails as well. But we'll be talking about the new features and enhancements. That's one of the things that we'll be doing. Secondly, we'll be talking about the new foundational skills instruction items. There's certainly so much to get to. We can't get to nearly all of it today, not near it, but there are some exciting things that I'll highlight today. I will be in Monterrey next week, I believe. So if anyone's from Monterrey, maybe I will see you next week while I'm in Mexico to talk some more about these things. We'll be talking about phonics and the decodable readers that are brand new to RAS Plus, as well as, of course, reading comprehension. And here's what's different about now our new RAS Plus. We have added vocabulary to all of our textual resources. So that's something that's exciting, and I'll show you some examples of that. And finally, I will show you some multimodal tools for your students, for independent practice, and for you, the teacher in the classroom, as you are modeling instruction. I am not the star of the show, as I always say. That is certainly Marita. And so, Marita, thank you for having us all today. And I'm sure she'll be getting back to you as you have some more questions later on down the road. All right, so as I'm showing you all of this, for the new people that are on the call today, everything I'm going to show you is printable. Everything I'm going to show you is projectable, so you can model instruction in the classroom, and I will show you examples of that very briefly. Everything that I'm showing you, your students and you as the teacher can access online, and as well as their mobiles, their iPads. We call it an anytime, anywhere resource because you and your students can access these items anywhere, anytime, as you see fit. So the 5 things that we'll be covering today in terms of RAS++. Why the plus? Because we have so many more resources. And when I say more, around August of last year, we had around 65,000 resources. Now we have well over 100,000 because of our addition of foundational skills. With the plus plus, we've added a brand new search function that I will highlight briefly and streamlined our navigation. And we've updated a lot of correlated materials to our resources that you might be using as a core in your classroom. When it comes to foundational skills instruction, we've added a very systematic, explicit approach to teaching reading if you wish to use it. We've included now with RAS Plus a lot of engaging interactivities, and I'll highlight a few of those, as well as individual student pathways. This is something that is really exciting because now you can have your students access their RAS Plus from a student-facing side, and they can go through RAS Plus, teaching themselves how to read without you having to do literally anything. It's a fun way for them to read on their own, and there are all types of incentives that are provided when they get on RAS Plus and they take their own pathways in terms of learning how to read. Of course, you can place them wherever they need to be placed if that's what you would like to do from a starting point. And I'll show you an example of that. When it comes to phonics and decodable readers, we have redone all of our decodables to fit the latest science of reading and to fit the reading rope, which we won't talk about a whole lot today, but I'll allude to it briefly. There's a whole nother session if you'd like to be a part of that reading rope session. So we've updated everything to match that if you're interested in that as well. And when it comes to comprehension and vocabulary, we have digital data recording tools that you can utilize. Everything the students do feeds into your digital data reporting tool, and all of your data is listed by very specific skills, comprehension skills, as well as very specific foundational skills that fit your curriculum. We've also, as I mentioned, we've added vocabulary to all of our texts. And of course, we have a variety of vocabulary-based activities that you now get for free with RAS Plus. And again, I'll show you some examples of that. When it comes to the multimodal tools, there's independent practice that your students should be utilizing if you have RAS Plus. And when I say should, for you, the teacher, the multimodal tools gives you all types of formative assessment that is at your fingertips if you wish to utilize it. So easy to do. I'll give you an example, as well as tools, again, to help you model instruction. And then I mentioned that built-in formative assessment if you choose to utilize it. Okay, so RAS++, when I talk about the resources, what am I referring to? So let me go live for a moment and show you some examples of what I mean by RAS++. So we have thousands more resources. If you have had RAS+, all of this looks different to you now. We've changed our interface, we've changed our navigation to help the teacher a lot more. When I say we have a lot more resources, you'll find a lot of resources inside of our menu at the top left-hand side. And by accessing that menu, when I access RAS Plus as an example to the thousands of more resources that we have all of our books and passages that you can actually sort by grade level, by learning A to Z level, by Lexile levels. You can search for books by very specific skills. And of course, maybe you're teaching some things, items by theme. And so you can do a thematic search by topic if you wish, as well as a large number of those collections. I'm going to scroll to the bottom underneath the menu. You'll also find something like high-low graphic books and high-low topic sets. Those are great for those readers in English that are maybe struggling a bit below grade level. Really high interest, looks really good, but a little bit lower levels for those students. So a lot of teachers like those high-low books for that reason as well. But inside of our menu, you'll find those resources mentioned. Also, tens of thousands of more resources that you have now inside of your Foundations A to Z. Important to note, RAS Plus is Foundations A to Z now. It is one resource that you are getting. And so we're really excited about that. But inside of Foundations A to Z, and I'll allude to this in a moment, but you have lesson plans with the scope and sequence if you wish to utilize that, professional development tools for you, the teacher, and a vast number of collections that you can access, including those phonics resources that I will highlight, as well as you can search by very specific foundational skills that correlate to your curriculum, standards, and then, of course, those correlations. Updated correlations. I'll just show you this very quickly. If I select correlations inside of Foundations A to Z and RAS Plus, you'll find a drop-down menu. And inside of that core program and curriculum correlation, you'll see a large number of curriculum that you might be utilizing. A lot of teachers or schools are utilizing Benchmark, HMH, for an example, Journeys, McGraw-Hill. We have all of those very direct correlations to those resources and curricula. And when I say direct, for an example, when I talk about McGraw-Hill or Journeys, we go right down to the specific week of instruction and specific skills within those weeks to highlight the correlated resource that fits your instruction if you're utilizing those core programs. I stopped here because a lot of people are also now utilizing NWEA MAP. I was in Dubai and Abu Dhabi last week, and so many schools were using MAP, and I know a lot of schools in South America are utilizing NWEA MAP. It's something that's going on around the world. I say that so that I can tell you that we correlate directly to NWEA MAP and RIT scores as well. Okay. Marita, this is a good time for me to pause, as I often do, and say, Marita, do you have anything to add at this point? I'll stop approximately 5 times today, Marita, to ask you. Go ahead.
In the same menu you show with the journeys and MWV,
Uh-huh.
there's also the PYP um, benchmark with for the International Baccalaureate. There,
Absolutely. Oh.
there.
There you go.
Yes,
Thank you,
that's
Marita.
also nice. Thank you.
Teamwork makes the dream work. I appreciate that. That's really important. Thank you, Marita. Um, I mentioned foundational skills. So, foundational skills instruction. What do I mean by systematic and explicit? There's a very specific order that you can teach students to read if you want to utilize the latest science of reading research. Just to let you know, we have that systematic approach all laid out for you, as well as the explicit instructional materials that you would need. To go with that, like I mentioned, we have a number of engaging interactivities for students and individual student pathways. So, what do I mean by individual student pathways and systematic and explicit instruction? When I go live again, as an example, you'll see when I access in the menu and I go to Foundations A to Z, you'll see the lesson plans. If I highlight that lesson plan, you will see for every grade level the scope and sequence that we are utilizing for our lesson plans. And I'll just drop down a lesson plan so you can see the individual modules within that lesson plan and activities. Anytime you see a green pen, those are lesson plans for you to utilize if you would like to utilize that. So going back up to the top again, we also have an instructional progression of skills. Quite simply, that is what the latest science of reading tells us the order that we should be teaching skills to appropriately teach students to read in English. When you access one of those items, as an example, this is the instructional progression of skills by strands, and here's grade 1. If I go up to kindergarten, you can see where we begin with the phonics patterns and even high frequency words that we are adding. I said that we have all new decodable books. So what you'll see to the right of these items are the decodable books that apply to the specific skills that are being taught. Well, you should raise your hand now and say, Jason, why do you not have any decodable books here in the entire screen? Because we should not be giving students decodables until they can decode the book. So we do not offer decodables according to the research until we get to this level right here, specifically 4.1 for kindergarten, where we're teaching these high frequency regular words. And this is the decodable now that we have completely rewritten all of them. So we start with the Tan Van. When you access the Tan Van, and this is Hotlink, this is synced, everything that we've taught from here through here is now completely decodable once they get to the Tan Van. And if you select the Tan Van, it even goes to something that you can present as the teacher to model instruction. You can, of course, assign this activity to a group of students, to all of your students, or to individual groups of students as you wish. I like to highlight that simply because it's really important to note that all of our resources do have some kind of systematic approach. And so we follow that. You'll also notice to the right, we have something called the Explore Zone. So I won't say too much because we have a lot and it can get confusing. But basically, remember when I said that we have individual student pathways and a lot of engaging interactivities? Well, you can have students access those in one of two ways. One way that you can have them access that is within the Explore Zone, and you can actually go to the very specific world, mission, and level that you can assign that would apply to the exact skills that you are teaching, maybe that week for instruction. The other way that students can access all of these interactivities, games, etc., books inside of the Explore Zone, they have access to this whenever they would like. You can set that. When students access the Explore Zone, just so I can show you what that looks like, I'm a visual person, so I like to see it. This is what it looks like for your students. I'll log in as JP here. And you would access your Foundations Planet, your student would, And this is the Explore Zone. Now, I will revisit this, but inside the Explore Zone is that completely gamified approach that's a lot of fun. And you can see up here, these are all of the missions and levels that I've completed so far because they're open with a plus sign and a check. If I scroll down, you'll see here that it's gated. Now, why is it gated? I should not be doing anything here until I've mastered the skills prior to. So you can see that I am currently at level 54, mission 14, world 5, in my own individual student experience. I can do this whenever I want. Think about your students when they are at home, that home to school connection. Maybe you have station rotations where you want students working on these things. Maybe you want to assign very specific levels, as I had mentioned, according to the skills that you are teaching that week. It's a lot of fun for students. And of course, they receive all of the stars and incentives that they do in RAS Plus to create their avatars, their RAS rockets that they enjoy so much. Now, level 54, keep that in mind. The reason I want you to keep that in mind is because if I go back here to my Learning A to Z, what I'm going to show you today is an example of, and Marita knows what's coming, of a long eval digraph, specific phonics skill. And so if I scroll down, it's a first grade resource. So if I scroll down to first grade, I'm just trying to apply this instructional progression of skills and show you how this all ties in. Here's my grade 1. And if I scroll down to specifically item 4.2, I am going to focus today on the long eval digraph. So here are those words that we're working on. Here are the individual skills. This probably looks familiar to you. And remember what level I was on, level 54? This is the sequence of levels that I am having to complete. Maybe as a teacher, I assign it. Maybe as a student, that's just where I am in my learning journey. But those are the specific worlds, missions, and levels that apply to that specific skill. And we even have a decodable that is attached to that specific skill if you'd like to utilize it as well. Okay. I try not to give too much because we have so much there, but I do want to highlight some really exciting things that are applicable to you, the teacher, and of course to the student. Marita, I'll stop there for a second. Anything that you would like to add or any questions that need to be answered?
So far, so good. There is no questions in the chat box. So
Okay.
everything is fine.
All right, so I'll stay live here for a moment. So I mentioned that we have a lot of engaging interactivities. Now we have tens and tens of thousands of new resources. Where do these resources come from? Well, as another example, you can see that we have added, all of this is new. So we've added books in our collection. And if I select books, those books are going to be, there's my long eval digraph. Those books are all going to be associated directly with the long eval digraph. So you can see here I have a decodables. All of these are decodables for the long E. I have a sound symbol book. There are activities, there are games, etc. If I go to the student videos, these are all videos surrounding those long eval digraphs, including how to make those sounds. If I go to games, you'll see the games that are associated with the long E, worksheets, etc., even assessments and very specific packs. If I go to the entire library, you'll see that we have a lot of packs, which I'm going to highlight one here in a second, and I'll explain why in a moment. Anytime you see a green pen, those are lesson plans that you can access directly. And then you can see all of those pronunciation videos, the sound symbol books. And if you do print and like to do a lot of things with the pencil and paper, you always have the opportunity to do that. And so you can see practice sheets all surrounding those E's, long eval digraphs, long and short eval digraphs, etc. Lots of new resources. This is all new. Now, how do I get to this? Think about you, the teacher in your classroom, and maybe the phonics skills that you are needing to teach. You can, if you would like, I like to utilize the search engine. So I can just type in long E if I want. And when I type in long E, it will pull up a number of different options for me. And if I select the long eval diagraph, I get all of these options. If I open up a pack, check out what this has. We'll do this one here, short and long E. If I open up the short and long E pack, here's why I like these. It offers you many resources with one click. And so now inside this pack, if I want, I can assign all of these items and they have to do these in a sequence. So the first thing that they might have to do is watch the video. Always, always watch the video first to front load them with the instruction. So here's a video for the long and short E, 2 of them to be exact. Anytime you see these purple gloves, those are games and interactivities, of course, revolving around the skill that we are teaching, the long and short E. Here is a sound symbol book for the long and short E. Here is another sound symbol and then an appropriate decodable. Now, if you assign this, you don't have to assign all of these things. You can also assign, pick and choose which ones you would like students to do as well. So if you select assign, you simply pick and choose which activities you want students to complete. And you can notice here, depending on their level, you can assign read books or listen books. The listen books are great for those students that are really struggling learners at the moment at grade level. And so you can give them the opportunity to hear those sounds and hear those words and those sentences and those books being read to the student. So that's really nice. So you assign that. You can assign that to groups, the whole class, or individual students. Again, the reason I really like to highlight the packs is because you can do a number of things with one resource, and it just makes things easier, saves the teacher a lot of time and energy if you search that way. Okay. Marita, anything to add? Are we doing okay?
Everything is fine.
All right. So the third thing that I talked about or I had mentioned were the phonics and decodable readers. And so with our phonics and decodable readers, as I mentioned, we apply directly to the reading rope of the science of reading, and we've updated everything to match that, including very specific correlations. So when I mentioned the reading rope, I don't know if you can see this or not, but everything that you see on the top here are those foundational skills elements that we've added to RAS Plus. Decoding and encoding, phonological awareness, phonemic awareness, the sounds, as well as sight recognition. All of those are foundational skills or word recognition skills that we now have with RAS Plus. We have always done a great job with the language comprehension skills that you see here, but we've also really added to our vocabulary strand by including vocabulary as well, and I'll get to that in just one moment. But if I get into the live resource again, when I mentioned those decodables, well, actually, when I mentioned the science of reading, you can access this as well through Learning A to Z and RAS Plus, but this is the rope that I was referring to. You can actually go straight to resources by selecting individual strands of the rope, and you can select resources that pertain to those individual strands if you would like. This is just a really kind of general way of looking at resources, at skills with appropriate resources. Again, I really like to utilize the search engine to find exactly what I need. That search engine being right at the top right here. Something to note here, we've added a lot of correlations, as I had mentioned. And so when I say correlations, we've added a lot to our curriculum and assessment correlations. How do you get to this spot just so you can see it? If you select menu and you go back into your foundations A to Z, you can see the correlations menu right here. And when I select correlations, it pulls up this screen. And I'll just highlight this very quickly again. And Marita, you can stop me at any time if you want again. But here are those core program assessments that we apply to. There's your HMH. And then the assessments that you might be utilizing in terms of NWEA MAP, DIBELS, Renaissance, and then other curriculum that are really popular right now, especially letters, UFly, trainings, etc. We apply directly to those elements. Marita, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Jason, we actually have two questions.
Okay.
The first one, where did you access the results of the activities in the pack? And the second one is, where do you find interactive reading rope that you just showed?
Absolutely. So let me cheat. I'm going to give you exclusive access, Marita, if it's okay, if I can go ahead and add this. I just put that reading rope, exclusive access just for you today, into the chat. Please access that and save that to your tabs. But that is the reading rope for RAS Plus and Foundations A to Z. Thank you for that question. The other one is, where do you access the results of the activities? Okay, so if we are in any of the interactivities that we assign, after students complete the resource, it will go directly into your in basket. And let me just go to an in basket. Let me go to this tab. Let's go to this tab. I apologize. Let's go back to the beginning. So this is my RAS Plus. This is what all of your home screens will look like. If you go to menu, well, you can do it one of two ways. The really easy way is to select in basket. You can see that I don't have any here to review. Items to review is 0 for me because I don't have any students that I've assigned this to here recently. But if you select in basket, it will go straight to all of those resources that have been completed, and it will go to resources that have already that you've already reviewed if you want to utilize that with students or for your own records. So right here, you can see this is my RAS Plus and Foundations. And if I select awaiting review, this is where all of my assignments will be for students. And you can actually filter out by individual students just to find their assignments if you would like, or by assignment type. You can also select reviewed. And if you select reviewed, these are, it looks like benchmark assessments that I've reviewed in the past. And this comes complete with all of the information that comes from running records. But you can do one of two things. All of the in your in basket assignments that students complete will be in the awaiting review and in the review. That's one place. Now, in terms of specific data that you can accumulate so that you can watch growth over time, you can access something else if you would like. And I highly recommend that you do it. So if I go back just to show you the pathways, because I think the pathways are important. So here's your home page. And if I select menu, I can come down to classroom reports. And inside of my classroom reports, this is where the magic happens for all of your data. This is where you can find reports based on student usage. Student usage breaks down items according to how long they've spent on interactivities, how long they've spent in reading assignments. And if you go to skills, this is where it breaks down every single skill in the curriculum from grades kindergarten all the way through. And this is where you can find specific skill work. Everything is color coded, so it's really easy to see. When I say color code, if a student bar in a skill is green, then that means the student is doing great. If the bar is in yellow, that means they're getting there, but not quite there yet. And if it's red, that means we need some intervention resources probably to reinforce some of the instruction that we provided because they're just struggling still with those specific skills at the moment. But this is where you would find all of the data and all of this, the results that comes from anything that is assigned, whether it comes from the skill packs, whether it comes from the Explore Zone that they are doing on their own, you get a running record of everything. And the last thing that I'll highlight here while I'm here, you see the date range? If you are working on a skill and you want to isolate that week of instruction so you can see, are they getting what I'm trying to teach this week? You can isolate by very specific dates or by weeks. So if you want to see the last week, go to the last 7 days. If you want to see how they've done for the entire year, you can even see over the course of time how they've done over the year according to specific skills. Okay. Marita, did I answer that one okay? Is there anything that you want to add to that? And I see the thumbs up, so you guys got the reading rope. Go ahead, Marita.
No, everything's great. Thank you. No more questions yet.
All right. And thank you again for monitoring that chat. That really saves me from doing a lot of back and forth. I appreciate it. All right. So when I say data and I mention the red, green, and yellow, those are the bars that I'm referring to right there. It's really easy. Okay. I mentioned vocabulary. I'm going to go back here. We've added vocabulary with every one of our resources, all right, with every one of our text. And so what does that look like? So what we've done is we've added pre-made vocabulary lessons. And this is an example of a home page that I'm going to show you here in just a bit. And you see down here, it says pre-made vocabulary lesson. Basically, what we've done is that is an addition. Why is that an addition? Because it is a major strand of the reading rope and one that we felt at Learning A to Z that we really needed to improve. And so one way that we've answered that is by adding vocabulary, pre-made vocabulary lessons in every single one of our resources. There's also vocabulary A to Z. If you have any questions about that, you can certainly contact Marita. But if you do have vocabulary A to Z as well, that comes with a whole new bag of other resources in terms of games, interactivities that applies to phonics, phonological awareness, vocabulary, and spelling. It's rather robust and a lot of fun for students. But even if you don't have vocabulary A to Z, we still have these pre-made vocabulary lesson plans. Let me show you here very quickly where you can see that. I like to go live. Again, I'm a visual person and I like to see it in front of me. Marita, is that okay if I do that just so they know where to go to find these items? So on any resource page, this is the top. If you scroll down, you'll see that pre-made vocabulary lesson. And if you select that, I think it's worth saying, here's what you get. It is not just a list of vocabulary words, okay? It is it's a lot of stuff here. So here's for you, the teacher, basically your list. This is your sentence application and definition. If I scroll down, look at all these activities. You have words in context flashcards. Again, think about your small group station rotation if you want. You have word smart activities. And again, this comes in an intermediate and primary view. This is a primary view. Why? You see these dots as an example? That's to help students with their writing, okay? So primary view. If I scroll down, you'll see that we have flashcards for definitions. To continue to scroll down, it's worth looking at. We have analogies activities. Again, it's the primary view. Keep scrolling down. We have closed sentence activities. Now, this is interesting because we've also added just ideas so that you can apply any kind of activities that are probably laying around your desk toward the vocabulary lessons. So you can see here, we have a make a picture dictionary. So what do you need? Paper, pencils, markers, and crayons, okay? All of these are elements you probably have laying around the room. So we try to make it really easy for you, but we have another 5, 6, 7 activities just to give you an idea of something else you can do beyond our resources. We're not done yet. So if I scroll down, we have concept completion activities. And then, of course, we have vocabulary assessments, and we give you the answer keys as well. And then finally, picture vocabulary cards, flashcards for your students. So again, that's just that's an example, and I like to just go through it because there is a lot there. This is one example from one resource that we have added to every one of our text resources inside of RAS Plus. This is new, and it's appropriate for the reading rope to establish that complete strand completion, but it's also appropriate for the teachers to have access to that.
Yes.
Maritza, go ahead.
No, you just answered the question in the chat. The question was, do all level up books have these pre-made vocabulary lessons? And
Go ahead, Maritza.
yes. No, you just say that all the books have them. Of course, with different kind of resources, each PDF is going to be different depending on the level of the book.
That's correct. And so along those lines of what Marita said, we do have those primary and intermediate views depending on the grade level, or let's just say level of student, because really you might have a grade 3 student that's reading at a grade 1 level, and that's okay. That's just where a lot of students are in English. So we have those primary and intermediate views. Here's one example of that primary and intermediate. You can see here the primary, we're asking the students to write the word and then draw the word, right? The example of that word. Whereas intermediate, you're having them maybe draw a picture, write the word, maybe a synonym and an antonym for that word, and what is their own definition of that word. And so again, a little bit higher level complex stuff for your students, depending on their levels, okay? All right, thank you, Marita, for answering that question already. I appreciate it. One of the last things that we'll talk about is the multimodal tools that you get with RAS Plus. And even teachers that have had RAS Plus for 15 years, it never fails. I travel the world and they say, oh yeah, we've had RAS Plus for years. And I start showing them things after we dig in. What I am about to show you are elements that have always been there, but a lot of teachers don't realize that they are there. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can do one of two things. You can do a number of things. One is you can utilize the resources to model instruction that you wish to model. Think about your curriculum and your standards that you're teaching that week, your skills. And then your students, when you assign resources, they can annotate text. They can record themselves reading. And you can make this really specific to what you are learning for that week. Now, I'm going to show you that. But in the process of showing you that, I'm first going to show you how you, the teacher, can and should be searching for resources. You can't teach skills in isolation. You have too much to do and too many things to cover and not enough time to do it. So what you need to do as best you can, I think, is apply a number of different skills and apply them to basically one anchor text for the week that you can carry out and model instruction with. Let me show you all of this and then get to the multimodal instruction for you and for your students. Okay, so let's start here. And Marita is familiar with this. She's seen this a couple of times. But again, to put things in context of the teacher, this is basically what you're doing every day and every week of instruction. You all are superheroes. What you do and how you do what you do is amazing. So when maybe on the left side, those are all the foundational skills that you are teaching every day. And on the right are those language comprehension, higher level skills that you're teaching every day with your students. So let's say we want to find one anchor text. And I always like to choose the comprehension skill. Let's say you're covering sequence of events. Doesn't matter what grade level I'm talking to today. Every one of you has to teach sequence of events at one point in your curriculum. Let's also say you want to find one anchor text that also applies specifically to the phonics skill, the long eval digraph. Remember the EEEA that I had shown you earlier? Let's also say you want to find one anchor text that also encompasses grammar skills of capitalization and punctuation. And maybe you want something that's cross-curricular, so you want to find something that pertains to biology. So how can you filter out and search for that one resource out of over 100,000 resources? Here's how the search engine works. And after I show you the search engine, I'll show you all of those items that I talked about in terms of multimodal tools. Okay. All right. So to go back in and go live, let's stay here for a while. What you can do is at the very top, remember I mentioned utilizing the search engine. Just put in the skill that you want to filter out. So I mentioned sequence of events, right? So after I filter out sequence of events, it goes from over 100,000 to 873 resources. Let's keep filtering out. Remember what I had posted earlier. So in terms of other skills I want to filter out, I also want to filter out the phonics skill of the long eval digraph. So I can go to lessons and skills and I can go to val digraph. Now I'm down to 88 resources. Let's keep filtering. I also want to find one anchor text that covers the grammar mechanics of capitalization and punctuation. Now I'm down to 30. let's also say I also want to cover specifically, um, let's say biology, right? And so I can come down here to my content area and I can filter out things like biology. So now, out of over 100,000 resources, I filtered out to 7 because that pertains specifically to the skills that I want to filter out. So I have one anchor text that covers all of those. Okay. Marita, can you go ahead and mute everyone if you wouldn't mind for me? Thank you. Appreciate that. So if I go into this one anchor text, the food chain, I can go to resource. And when I go to resource, just so I can show you I'm not telling any tales. If I scroll down to teach the objectives, with this one anchor text, I am now covering the comprehension skills specifically of sequence of events, along with explicit instruction and activities that go with that skill. We're focusing in this text on the long eval digraph, and we're also focusing on capitalization and punctuation, complete with, again, explicit instruction and worksheets and activities that go with that specific skill if you want to isolate those. To go back up to the top, multimodal. What you can do as the teacher is you can and maybe should be modeling instruction that goes with these skills. So I filtered out this anchor text. If I select projectable right here, every resource has a projectable element. If I select that, this is what yours might look like. Over here on the left are all of those annotative tools that I can utilize. I'll give you an example. Let me go through here. Marita can do this in her sleep by now, I think. So remember, we're working on the long eval digraph. Just so I can show you, I'm going to show you a couple pages. Look what this resource is filled with. Long eval digraphs. Why is that? Well, because that's what I filtered out. We're also focusing on, so let's say as a teacher, I'm modeling instruction. And so if you have a smart board, you can have students go to the smart board and they can highlight with a yellow highlighter all of the long E's. Maybe you have a mouse and you don't have a smart board. You can, or you do have a smart board, but you want to keep students in their seats. Hand your mouse around the classroom and have them do this with the interactive tools. And so now with a yellow highlighter, we're having students one at a time highlight the long eval digraph. With a yellow, with a blue or red pen, we're having students circle end of sentence punctuation. And let's say they make a mistake. What a great teaching opportunity. They circle a comma for end of sentence punctuation. We can talk about why that is not end of sentence punctuation, what commas are, and we can go ahead and get rid of that. We're working on capitalization. So with a blue pen, we're having students cross through the first letter that's capitalized in each sentence. Maybe a student asks, wow, what is sunlight? How does a plant use sunlight for food? And so we stamp a question there to see if the text will answer that later on. We have all kinds of things that we can and should be doing to model instruction and engage students during classwork. This is a great way to do that.
And I think the mask tool is kind of new, right?
Which one?
The mask, where you can unmask part of the books.
yeah, and I'll show you another example of this as well. But again, I'll be honest with Maritza, some of that is a new part, but everything I'm showing you for the most part are elements that have been there for quite a while. A lot of teachers didn't realize that. So yeah, it's great. Speaking of that, while I'm here, I just like to talk about great strategies that I've seen. So what a lot of teachers will do with these to model instruction, if your schools have one-to-one iPads or devices that they can use in school, teachers will go ahead and assign students this resource. And so now think about classroom management. Now, while the teacher is modeling instruction, students are at their desk doing the exact same thing with the exact same resource and marking it just like the teacher is marking it, so that now they are following the modeled instruction. And then again, to make sure students are following along, teachers can walk around, but have students submit that. And so now a student might see that, wow, you didn't follow along. You're not with us. Or I'll take it one step further. Teachers have actually put up the work of the student in class to say, hey, let's put up Johnny's work to see what he did. And then utilizing that, first of all, they know that they might get randomly called on. But secondly, what a great way to teach and instruct in real time. And hopefully they are making mistakes. That means they're learning, but they have to be trying in real time. It's a great classroom management tool, and it's a lot of fun for students to follow along rather than just sit there and look at a board. Okay. All right. I'll show you what it looks like from a student perspective. As I do that, Marita, do you have anything that you would like to add? We have about 5 minutes before I need to get to any further questions. Go ahead, Marita.
Um, no, I think nothing else to sum up. But if teachers have questions, please write them on the chat box. This is the time where you can ask everything you would like to know. Of course, if you are new, we're going to be sending your coordinator this recording. And also, Jason, we have some teachers asking if you can share part of your presentation of these PowerPoint presentations that you have.
Yeah, Marita, what I can do is I can share this. I'll send this. I'll create a Google Doc and I will send you the link, Marita. And then what you can do is send that link to everyone that's attended today, if that works for you. And I'm happy to do so. I never have any. I don't have any secrets. So, all right, good deal. So this is what it looks like from a student perspective. Remember when I said they can be working at the same time as you, or maybe you just want to assign homework or want them to do something during station rotation. Assign it. Anything you assign goes into their My Assignment Planet. We have a number of other options for students. We have a library, a reading room filled with books by topics that they can't possibly go through in their entire years of school, including level ups where they can level up from learning A to Z levels as they continue to read more and more. But let's go to the My Assignment because we're running out of time. So inside of My Assignment Planet, this is what it looks like. And again, think about what they can be doing while you're modeling instruction even. They can access this book. And when they access it, here's what it looks like. Let me go back through a couple of pages. So we're modeling instruction and they're following along in class. So here's what a lot of teachers did not know existed. So when you assign something, you see this little triangle at the top of the screen? Select that triangle. When you select that triangle, it's a drop down and it gives you a number of options. One, you can have students record themselves reading an entire decodable. Maybe you want them to read certain pages in the text. They can annotate the text. Select your little bar of tools if you would like. And when you do that, guess what you can do? With a yellow highlighter, students can highlight all those long E's. With a blue pen, they can cross through the capitalized letters. With a red pen, they can circle the end of sentence punctuation, etc., etc. Make it as specific to the skill work that you're working on that week as you need to make it, okay? Also, when you assign something to your students, maybe they run across a word that they don't understand. Maybe it's sunlight. And so they can highlight that word and they can have that word being read to them. I heard it. I don't know if it came through on your end, but the word is being read to them. They can highlight that word to review later. They can add this to a word journal. They can even access a vocabulary card. The vocabulary card comes complete with a definition, a sample sentence, and even a picture to depict what that word is, which is helpful as well, right? These are all basic elements that teachers did not know existed a lot of time within RAS Plus. I mentioned formative assessment. What a great tool to utilize this as a formative assessment tool as they're going through their weeks of instruction. I've even had teachers keep this as a running record, a history of data on their student, and they can capture these individual images and keep those over the course of time. A lot of great use from this, not just the comprehension quizzes, but the formative assessment that you're seeing with the annotations and even hearing them when they read so that you can monitor fluency, etc. Okay. Marita.
We do have three very interesting questions in the chat. So the first one is about foundations and how to work the videos with K or pre-K students. Then about annotations in the reading, and then the science of reading progression with RAS+.
Okay. All right. So the first question is, let's go to the videos. So how can we work with the videos with K or pre-K students who are just starting to learn English? With those videos, there is something that is really helpful before you get to the videos for those students that are struggling in English. And that is this. It is the activities that we begin with students. The reason being, those are phonological awareness tasks that we can talk about, that we can assign, that talks about, that is focused on the sounds of the letters. And then that follows the sound symbol relationship. In my session, which I'm going to tie the second question together with this, what I'm talking about. The second question is, how does RAS plus phonics progression align with science of reading, the framework? There's a specific alignment. There's another whole 1 hour session that Maritza we can do that talks about that. I've done a number, over hundreds and hundreds of these types of sessions that cater to the science of reading. What we do with the science of reading, there's a very systematic approach to teaching the science of reading. There's a progression of skills that needs to be taught in a very specific sequence. Now, with foundations, all of our resources follow that science of reading systematic, explicit approach. Exactly. Well, precisely. So getting back to the original question, what you should be doing with those students that are struggling in English is utilizing the phonological awareness tasks to help create those skills, the necessary skills needed to read. Gosh, I want to go into this for another 30 minutes, but the teaching of the sounds is so critical. So bypass the videos if you would like because of the lack of English and go straight to the activities that focus on individual sounds of individual parts of speech and words, right down to the letters is what I would focus on within Foundations A to Z. To show you very quickly, because I know we're running out of time, if I go inside of the menu and go to Foundations A to Z, you'll see a number of different types of correlations. The phonological is really, really important. This is embedded, especially in the beginning activities of our Explore Zone or assignments that you can create. Again, the phonological is so critical. That comes before the phonics work. It's the sounds. That is always the most important when it comes to those beginning readers or those that are struggling in English. So I wouldn't focus on the videos as much as the phonological awareness tasks. Those are built in for you according to the science of reading progression. Great question.
And the other question is, how do students save their annotations in the reading, in the books?
Okay. So whenever a student is completing an assignment, I'll go back to that. So whenever a student is here and completing this, when they finish, there'll be a button and they select it. And that is a submit button, basically. When they finish the assignment and the quiz, if that's what you would like them to complete, along with all of the annotations, they'll hit that submit button. It's just a button, an icon. When they select that submit button, then it automatically goes into your teacher in basket. And you'll start to see those numbers populate. If you see any numbers, that means you have a submission that you need to check. The recordings of the students reading, as well as all of those annotations, automatically goes into your in basket. From there, if you wish, a lot of students, a lot of teachers, they even save these submissions, specific ones, and save those to their laptop in certain file folders that they would like to retrieve quickly or have a running record for students. To give you another idea of the running record, a lot of teachers will print the screen. If I go back into it, a lot of teachers will print something like this for annotations just to show student work. They might print this particular screen and just literally print screen, and then they'll go into the student's individual file and it's in sequential order. Maybe they even date it, and they have all of these formative assessment tasks right there in one kind of Microsoft Word document, if you will. There are all kinds of really creative ways that teachers keep track of the formative assessment tools according to whatever makes sense to them. But everything is kept for you inside of RAS Plus by student automatically.
If students use the little post-it notes that are the third icon in the top right corner, you will get like a comment in your roster that says annotations made by the student or something like that. So you can also check that.
Speaking of that, what a lot of teachers do, Marita, is they have students answer very specific questions by, on certain pages. And maybe it's just, what does this page make you think about? And it could be maybe they're looking for a right or wrong answer. What do plants use for food? Along with that, Marita, I'm glad you mentioned that. There's a journal that you can have students keep. They have a word journal that they can keep, as well as a reflections journal. So maybe you just want students to write about what they learned in this text. Maybe you just want them to write about what this made them think about, an open-ended response. So a lot of teachers utilize that. And again, when they press save reflection, those reflections are saved when the student submits the assignment. All of this is automatically done for you. You don't have to do anything. Marisa, we're 1 minute over. Anything else? Any other questions? Anything else you want to add before we adjourn for the day?
There is no more questions in the chat box. Well, no yet, or I think that's everything. We are going to be sharing you this recording and Jason's presentation. For those teachers who are really new with the platform, don't worry, there is a lot of information, there are a lot of resources. It's like having a new cell phone. It's just practice, practice, practice. We are going to be with you along the way of the implementation with you and your students.
So, someone had mentioned, Marita, the science of reading here at the very end. What we consider ourselves, we are an all-in-one resource. And when we say all-in-one literacy solution, what we've done is we have now really upgraded, really added in a robust way all of these elements of the foundational skills inside the reading rope, as well as all of these language comprehension skills. We do have sessions where we tear apart these individual strands and show you the direct applications on RAS Plus, and something we're very proud of here at Learning A to Z that we've really beefed up. There are whole class activities as well as small group, as I'd mentioned, during your station rotation work, independent practice activities, and whole classroom centers. And so I just like to show some of these resources. This is 1/10, not even that of what we have to offer, but these are specific resources you can access for those different types of work within your classroom on a daily basis. And I just wanted to put those up so they would have that in the recording so they can go back and take a look at those. And hopefully what we've done today is we have answered every one of those check marks at least, even though there's a lot more that we can talk about and discuss. And something I haven't even gotten to today, but we've run out of time, is the digital file cabinets. This is another session, but everything that I had shown you today, think about your curriculum, your standards. You should be saving your resources that fit your particular framework inside of your digital file cabinet, so that you never have to find these again, and you can come to school every year with your resources already built out. It's something that I highly recommend or suggest that you ask Marita about, and she can help you with what that looks like. One more thing before we leave, and I've got to go because now I'm late, which is okay. I get too excited. I talk too much. At the bottom of every page, I'm on RAS Plus. If you go to the bottom, even after I'm gone, even after Marita's gone, you have all kinds of help. Here's how to get started for you for professional development for RAS Plus. I mentioned the file cabinet features. You can go to that and find out how to utilize the file cabinets right here after we're gone, how to utilize the projectables to model instruction, how students can access resources inside the student portal, etc., etc. I just wanted to highlight that we do have instructional supports at the bottom of every page in RAS Plus to help you when you have questions, because you will have questions. All right. I promise
Yeah.
I'll stop talking. Thanks, Marita. Thank you, everyone, for having me today. Marita, go
No,
ahead.
thank you to nothing. And we're going to be having you again April 22nd, if I remember it well, because we're going to have a writing rope webinar in April. So see you all there. Thank you, Jason, and thank you, teachers, for being here today.
Pleasure to be with you. Thank you, everyone. And of course, always, best of luck to you. Thanks, Marita. Talk soon.
Thank you.